I guess this is the roundup. The fourth draft happened very quickly, about 2 or 3 weeks. It was mostly concerned with trim size, some play in margins, details concerning fonts, point size, the lighting and kerning, and it was really an exploration towards what was ultimately not a resolution. But it once again re-familiarized myself with this playing field upon which the new book takes place. And then the fifth draft commenced, and it was a page 1 restart. Actually, no, restart's incorrect. It was just a page 1 re-edit, re-encountering the book as a whole, while at the same time taking note of those changes that developments in the later part of the book necessitated towards the beginning, as well as the sort of those gifts that come to you when you are serious about not writing when you're not writing. A sudden idea that has to be scribbled down wherever you are. And even if it's as small as just the reversal of 2 words, or a new organization of a paragraph, or a different color, or something wholly new that can help with a character's history. And again, I think that's wrong. It's not so much help at this point. It's certainly you've been living so long with these characters that there are revelations about who they are. And those insights suddenly bubble up, and you realize that that this change will allow a sort of a greater amount of harmony and trueness to the piece as a whole. And just yesterday, I shipped off the rest of it, the whole thing, to my editor, and so the fifth draft is officially done, and that period of solitude is also over. Not to say that editing is in itself not a lonely endeavor, but it's nowhere close to what the last 4 plus 5 years have been. Simply because it has existed before no one except for myself. And now suddenly it is out in the world. And I'm pleased to say it is of itself. You know, it's a work I'm very proud of. Whether it finds that readership that a commercial book needs to find remains to be seen. There's a whole new chapter now of a whole new journey, really, of editing it with my longtime editor, who I've been with since House of Leaves was acquired back in the late 90s. And the object there, obviously, is to make it an even truer book. And by truer, I mean something that is in keeping with what the book has set out to do and what that book accomplishes. Yeah, it was very emotional to finally finish it. I was unprepared, actually, for the kind of feelings I had. And they're not feelings that necessarily align with that particular page towards the end of the book, though that had something to do with it. But just, I think probably the way athletes feel when they've undertaken enormous challenges, just kind of this release of knowing that that this thing has been done. And again, it's not to say that in any way guarantees its quality in the eyes of a readership, but it does blue ribbon the undertaking to oneself. I know what I have done. I've been doing this for a long time, and I know personally what it achieves. And I'm talking in terms of the whole book, and I'm also in terms of its arcs, in what its narrative construct does in relationship to other narratives that I personally have conceived or that others have worked with when addressing the idea of the Western. And I also know how it works even on a much more particular level, down to its paragraph structure and even its word rhythms and even its syllables in some case, and how it achieves a music that I think exceeds anything I've ever done before. And I guess the most an artist can hope for is to have a brief sense that all this time that one has put into this solitary project is time well spent. Because that's ultimately what it comes down to for all of us, is have you spent your time well? And spending your time well includes failure and discouragement and arrest, just as it includes those finer moments when we feel elated, when we feel, as I've joked to my wife, that most of the time you feel like you're talking at the stars, but now and then a moment comes by when you feel like you're talking with the stars, and that too is a great feeling. But the greatest in the end is a sense that you have gotten out of the way of yourself, and that you have been a midwife for the delivery of something that far exceeds who you are and what your personal ideas were and your personal mission. But in some ways, that there is this voice that you have had the privilege to hear and honor, that has moved through you and put down upon these pages. So that's where I'm at now. Exhausted. Looking forward to being a little more mellow towards the end of the year, and to sort of recuperate and get ready for the next phase, which is really figuring out how to edit this, how to publish it, and how to release it. And I think one of the fires that will drive me through that process, and I think I can speak on behalf of my editor, who's now read about 2/3 of the book, there's an excitement there, an excitement to share this with you. And I don't know who that particular you is, but there's some of those yous who will not just appreciate, but be able to take this journey as well through this book and hear this music, and that's thrilling that experience can be freshly had in one go, which is not to imply you can read it in one go, but in one sort of sustained engagement with this story, this adventure. Anyway, I'm not sure anymore if this is of use to those creative hearts out there. I hope in some ways it gives you just a sense of the variances that occur along the way as on a big project, the kind of revisions that are required. I don't know if I've been open enough about the disappointments, because certainly they're there. The elations are there as well. The fatigue runs throughout. And I know there's plenty more questions that people have asked me in terms of how to find the right balance with family life and even living in a world that seems post-codex in some ways, a world, a culture that's embracing more the sort of ephemeral expressions, all of which are great questions. In the end, family life was not hard to balance because it was a priority. It was all labor intensive. It was all exhausting. But family was there, as was this book. And that meant saying no to a lot of other things. And in terms of where this book would live, you know, writing novels has always been a long game. It's low frequency. It can pass through culture without even being heard for a long time. And you know, the satisfaction or the mysticism is that even in its low range speech, it nonetheless carries out conversations with time. And I feel just honored to be able to enjoy that practice and to struggle in that practice. And for those of you who are also, you know, endeavoring to do complex, difficult things, I hope just that these repeated catch-ups are a way to say that yes, it's all hard work, and yet there is revelation in it as well. That's it for now. Expect an update next year as we sort of move closer and closer to some release, which I think is still a good ways away. But that's the work, that's the journey. Look forward to talking to you again. And in the meantime, enjoy your holidays, stay safe, appreciate your moments, your loved ones. And that's it for the roundup.